Hello and welcome to the Detour Live. It's been 398 days since the tour finished in 2019. There was a long period there where we thought it may not start at all. Johnny Trevorrow, the time has arrived. Stage one. How pumped are you?
I am pumped, especially after listening to that lead-in music there with Phil Liggett talking about Cadell's winning and all of that. So, yeah, I'm pumped and ready to go. Very different, as we've touched on. The fact that I'm sitting here at home in Geelong instead of being in Nice in France, first time for 23 years or something. But, look, I really am pumped. I thought a month ago there probably wouldn't be a Tour de France, and to think we're about to start. Yeah, fantastic, bud.
Well, my brain hurts already, and the race hasn't even started. There's just been so many stories going on at the moment. Obviously, it's dominated by COVID-19. So we're going to chat to Bridie O'Donnell, Dr. Bridie O'Donnell, later on in the show. We pre-recorded that earlier and shared some great insights on how it's going to affect the race, mate.
Yes, look, and as we spoke with Whitey last night, that the riders are very concerned also about the false positives that have been up the rules a little bit, so the staff weren't included in that that little number of two get kicked out. That has been changed by the French government, so it's back in, although there's been a slight relaxation in that it's over the 9 days and then it starts again. So you could get a second positive in 10 days and you wouldn't be thrown off the race. But look, it's going to be very, very interesting. And besides all of that, the racing's, they've only been racing for about 3 or 4 weeks. Every race has been so frenetic. The pace has been on. It's like a group of kids that you hold back and then let them onto the playground and they just go berserk. And that's what every stage has been like. And I'm sure today is going to be just like that.
Well, I saw in breaking news this morning that Peter Sagan's come out and said he's urging fans not to attend the race live, to watch it on TV. And I was just thinking of a scenario, imagine if you're a French family, you've packed the picnic, you're just about to head out the door, and then the son says, "Dad, hang on. Peter Sagan said we shouldn't go. All right, put away the baguette, boys. It's TV time." I mean, it's just going to be very hard to enforce these protocols for the 3 weeks, yeah?
We're talking about the French, mate, the French. And Peter Sagan is not French. It'd be different if, or someone like that said it. But no, they're just going to go, "See you later, Peter." We're there, mate.
And we may get to speak with a Tour de France debutant, Sam Bewley. We've sent him the link. And as we know, this is going live, so we don't know if he's going to jump on or not. But it must be a pretty nerve-wracking time just before your first tour. And in the current conditions, I mean, there's so many layers of extra stress that a lot of these guys just wouldn't be used to.
Oh, exactly. And extra stress. I mean, your first tour at any time, it would be pretty special. But then with all of the question marks on this, look, as Nice was heading for the red zone now, but a week out when it was predicted, some people thought that meant the tour wouldn't start. So they've managed to do that. So actually, you've got to take your hat off to the French government and to ASO for enabling this to all go ahead.
I spoke to Bills on the Social Distance podcast. I'll be giving that a plug a bit over the next 3 weeks. And it was all about, he's a single man. Now he can finally tell people at a bar when they say about his career, "Oh, have you ridden the Tour de France?" He can say yes. Is that one of the burning things that annoys you, Iffy, in your career, that you rode a Giro, but you never got a chance to do the tour?
Oh, yes. It would have been great. I mean, I didn't deserve to ride the tour. I was mucking around too much. So I wasn't the type of guy that the big teams really were looking at putting in. But yes, I've been to the Olympics, the Com Games, and won, Aussie titles and Sun Tours and stuff, and rode the Giro. But it's the one thing, it's almost like, "Oh, you never rode the tour." People just assume that you have. So, yeah, great for Sam Bewley to get that start. Well, he hasn't got there yet. I can remember a certain sports director named Matt White who was lining up for his first tour. They went for a warm-up to look at the course and hit a TV cable, went down and broke his collarbone. So he didn't get to start that one.
And Caleb Ewan, he must have had a restless night. I mean, if you're a sprinter and you get the opportunity to come in and potentially wear yellow after stage one, there must be a lot of thoughts going through your head and sort of thinking, geez, this could be life-changing.
You know what? He is such a cool customer. I reckon he would have slept all right. He'll be nervous. I mean, it's a tough day. There are three climbs, 2.5 times I climbed this big hill, but it's far enough out that everyone seems to think that the sprint teams will get their boys back. But it's a bit of a chance. We'll spoke to Whitey just earlier. He said, 34% chance of rain. It was actually drizzling a little bit when we spoke to him, and a really dangerous descent. Now, like it's 50 kilometres to go, but it is very, very tricky. So I'm sure Caleb will be worrying about that.
Now, as we mentioned at the top of the show, we caught up with Bridie O'Donnell to talk all things COVID. Here's a first part of that interview. Okay, Johnny, our next guest is a lot smarter than you and I, and that's probably going to be the trend for the next 3 weeks. It's none other than Bridie O'Donnell. Bridie, you're a doctor. Who better to talk to about the current COVID pandemic? What's the current situation in France? I believe there's been a bit of a backflip on the two-strike rule.
That's right, Dan. We heard overnight that actually the French government decided they needed to renegotiate with the UCI and ASO about that rule that had been overturned yesterday. It means that if one rider tests positive, they need to be isolated. And from what I read in the article early this morning, they're going to view footage of team buses and look at the way people have been interacting. And if they can find evidence of other people in the team, whether they're riders or staff, that are not wearing masks and not observing the appropriate protocols, the whole team will have to isolate, and therefore they wait on the second test. So it's effectively, putting this really strong hammer down on the teams to say everything you need to do needs to be above board, and we're going to test you regularly. So it's stressful for them for sure.
Iffy, it shows that the French government are not messing around. You've had your fair run-ins with the gendarme over the years on the race route. You don't want to mess with those guys there.
No, look, this is just politics because, the teams are doing the right thing. There is no doubt about that. And ASO listened to them the other day to what their concerns were and decided that was fair enough. But the government's in a different situation. They're running a bike race in a country that's got serious challenges. I mean, Nice has become a red zone. That probably a lot of people are questioning whether the tour should even go ahead. So they have to be look to be really tough with all of this.
Bridie, do you think that the teams are going to put a bit of pressure back on the government then and say, okay, well, if you want to have those restrictions on us, make sure you enforce rules and regulations to ensure that crowds are following the same protocols as well?
It's a really good question because we've seen such amazing footage in the past of spectators being incredibly close to the riders, particularly on climbs when their speed is a little lower. And that's part of the appeal of the tour, isn't it? Access to the riders. But then there's that backslapping, running beside them, chasing them. That's contact with people outside of a bubble, if you like, that aren't maybe observing the rules. We heard Macca and Christoph talking today about, if you want to go up a climb and watch the race, you've got to walk there, you've got to wear a mask and you've got to have hand sanitizer. But I think that there will be some tension there where riders will expect all of those gendarmes to do their job and sort of keep people at bay. This is a very challenging situation. I think if he's right, a lot of us are surprised that this event is going ahead with what we're seeing as a second wave in Europe. But we've heard the ASO director say that only a world war has stopped the Tour de France in the past. So we're all crossing our fingers and toes that this doesn't become, a cluster F. We want it to be an amazing event and we want the best riders to win. But I suspect these riders are going to be racing every single day like it's a one-day event, because if the tour gets cancelled halfway through, we don't know yet, but maybe that'll be the yellow jersey.
I was going to say, if there's been a bit of an issue also with false positives, is there anything they can do to increase or decrease the possibility of this happening?
Well, what we don't know, though, is whether there are also false negatives. So what we're seeing in Australia is people can test negative and 11 days later test positive. We also know that athletes are demonstrating fewer symptoms. They're feeling less unwell than the average person because they already have incredibly great cardiovascular systems. So relying on the well-being of an athlete to match up with the test result is not always a good one compared to a 60-year-old who might have heart disease. So what we know is that there have been false positives, but just because you test tested positive 2 days ago and you're negative today doesn't mean the positive was false. It could mean that the negative is false. So we need to keep thinking of this with a health lens. We do not want athletes infecting each other. We don't want them infecting the general public, and we don't want the race to be called off. So I think that the testing regime that they've had and the protocols have been pretty sound. It's just that particular Bora Hansgrohe case from Tuesday before Tour of Bretagne was definitely controversial.
Wow, some great insights there. And we're going to have part 2 just in a moment. But before we do, Sam Bewley, welcome to the Detour Live, bro.
Hey, Effie. How are you, mate?
Sammy, I'm really good, Bill. It's been a while, but you're looking very, very relaxed, mate, for your first Tour
Mate,
de
we're
France.
missing our team mascot.
Oh, come on, mate. You can tell the truth on this show.
I'll tell you, first time in 22 years, I think it is, Sammy, that I haven't been there. But just be careful. Remember what happened with your sports director at his first tour. He hit a TV cable, fell off and broke his collarbone before the start. So just watch out for those TV cables, mate.
Mate, I did that last year at Tour of Romandy before the Giro, so I've had my quota, hopefully.
How's the nerves, Bills? You're a pretty cool cat, but it's obviously a lifelong dream to start the tour. And I mentioned Iffy earlier, particularly in years to come when you're at a bar and a female says, "Oh, did you ride the tour?" You can say, "Yeah, I'm a Tour de France rider."
Or even a male, maybe. You never know. No, mate, I'm pretty relaxed, like you say, Jonesy, but yeah, I'm certainly pretty excited. I guess that's the emotion I've got at the moment. Nervous? I don't know if I'm nervous. Certainly anxious to see what it's all about. But yeah, no, mainly I'm excited to finally get on the start line of Tour de France. I mean, it's going to be fairly different this year to other years, as we all know, with the COVID stuff. But nevertheless, I'm sure that it'll be one of the most watched Tour de France's on TV that we've ever had, given the fact that the world's been missing sport for so long, and the Tour de France is what it is. So yeah, bloody excited to get amongst it in a few hours.
Exactly right, mate. I was actually talking to them in SBS, who are really supporting us in this, and we'll all be watching it. They reckon they could get record viewership. I just wanted to know, mate, you would have ridden around these roads around the back of these a few times in different events. What do you reckon is going to happen in today's stage?
Mate, it's tricky. It's a real tricky stage. I mean, on paper, it should be a sprint. It should be a sprint. But there's some pretty tricky descents, and there's certainly a really tricky one in the last sort of 30k of today's stage. So, I mean, I'm sure teams will be thinking how they can use that as a tactical advantage, whether or not they can exploit some sprinters down there. And if you're far back in the descent, then you could be chasing for a little bit afterwards. The climbs themselves aren't too difficult. They're certainly there, but they're probably not hard enough to get rid of the sprinters. So yeah, the descents could come into play, and but after that, there's a big long straight valley into Nice for the finish, and it's a pretty straightforward finish. So I do think it'll be a sprint today. There obviously will be a breakaway early on. Probably be a breakaway that you can't allow to have too much time, just given the nature of the roads being quite twisty and quite tricky for a fair part of the stage. So it'll be, if I was a sprint team, I wouldn't be giving the breakaway too much leash, and then and lining the boys up for the kick at the end. Good stage for Caleb for sure.
And also, Bills, what's your role going to be predominantly on the team? I know that particularly in the last week of a Grand Tour, you've got an uncanny ability to really dig deep and tear out a new one. What's your major role going to be this year, mate?
Well, obviously we're targeting stages. The team's made that quite clear, and we've got quite a number of guys that could finish off some stages on quite a few different terrains. So that's the goal for our team. And in terms of what I'll be doing is assisting those guys, trying to aid them into breakaways, looking after them on stages where they need to be saving energy. And then, yeah, like you say, Jonesy, the third week Builds, hopefully he'll turn up again this Grandy, and and might be able to slip into a few breakaways myself with another guy from the team, and then assist them throughout that stage, and hopefully they can finish it off at the end. So, yeah, we're all in for stages here this year, and I mean the boys won 4 last year, so it'd be nice if we can get close to that again. We'll see how it goes.
Now, you sound like you're saying that you're not actually going to have a go for a stage yourself, but everyone sits down and marks out one day that they think really does suit them. You must have one sort of earmarked for yourself, Sammy.
Oh, I haven't. Just
Why don't you go for stage one? Stage one, yellow's up for grabs. Just win it or bin it down the descent. That last climb, mate. You're a good descender.
Yellow or go home, you reckon?
Mm-hmm. Why not? Imagine the reception in New Zealand.
Oh shit, you should be big.
Oh, it'd be huge. Ticket tape parade that works. You'd have Dave Dobbins playing at the event.
I'll be back on the detour tomorrow again.
Yeah, exactly.
No, hit him at the 1K to go, mate. Just bang, 1K to go. Open up that gap. I can see you down in that low position. I'm really pushing it, Sammy. I can see it happening now.
Just before we let you go, Bills, do you have your own room? Is that one of the benefits of the protocol, or you normally room with Chavez? How's our little Colombian mate going?
Yeah, normally room with him the last few Grand Tours I've done, but no, we're solo. We're solo this year, Jonesy. So it's gonna be a long few weeks. I started watching Game of Thrones actually. I haven't seen it before. So,
what?
I never watched it. One of those like 1% of the populations that never seen it. So
cracker!
Smack that bad boy out while I'm.
I don't want to give away too much of the plot, but most of them die in the end.
Yeah, I'll figure that.
It's a bloodbath.
Mate, it's like I live alone, so I look forward to coming to races and having a roommate, but stuck talking to you two instead. Nice setup behind you, Jonesy. You've done well. Why don't you put that effort into the social distance podcast?
Oh, mate, we're going for a different vibe. We're trying to look a bit more polished for this production. The social distance is a bit more rough around the edges, you know.
You normally turn up
three guys around the bar.
You normally turn up in a Hawks hoodie, looking half hungover. You sharpened up for this one.
Coming from you, mate. You barely get out of the shower for the podcast. Hey, just on the social distance, obviously George Bennett is a good mate of yours, and all the talks about the killer wasps. How are they going to perform Visma? How do you reckon they're going to go on GC, mate?
Oh, I'd say that arguably Roglic is the favourite to win this race. He's been in pretty amazing form. All those guys have been. They've been flying the last few races. I guess the unknown is he's had a big crash at the Dauphiné, so he's sporting a few bandages and he's still got a couple of injuries. But yeah, I think we spoke with George a few weeks ago about how he was going in Italy, and you can see he's in good form, and their whole team is. So yeah, I think you'll see them at the pointy end of the race, and probably be looking at a Roglic Bernal sort of fight into Paris, I reckon.
Yeah, good stuff.
It's funny, you just while we got you talking about that, I reckon this is the first tour in the last 8 years that Sky / Ineos don't look to be the strongest on day one.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, like they've dominated this race, haven't they? The last however many years now, with quite a few different riders. So yeah, this is the year where they're going to have to fight for it for sure. I mean, I wouldn't say they've won it easily in other years, but they've certainly been the dominating force. But this year the media has certainly hyped up the fight between those two teams, and I think it's pretty accurate. I mean, Bernal's unbelievable. He can win races with his fingers in his nose sometimes, and they do have a strong team here. I mean, obviously they didn't bring Froome and G, but they've still got a strong team. But it's not their first rodeo, Iffy, so I'm sure that they might have been the second best team in the last couple of races, but I wouldn't be surprised if they come here at another level. So yeah, it's going to be bloody exciting it's great for the sport. It's good for the sport to have another team putting pressure on them, and it'd be an awesome tour to watch in that sense.
I'll be able to sit back with a Mitchelton and watch it for a change instead of driving a car and trying to keep out of trouble. I'm going to enjoy sitting on the couch and watching it. I throw a Pinot, not the Pinot. I'm not going to drink it, but a bit light for me. But Thibaut Pinot, I'm going to put him. I reckon he could be he's not a dark horse because he's one of the favourites, but I reckon he could take it out. Hasn't got a stronger team, but if he's really smart. And with that last time trial being up a hill in his virtual hometown, I reckon he'll give it a real shake.
Yeah, and, I reckon he'll be up there.
A shout out to anyone watching. You can send in questions and comments. Your mate Jedi, give him a taste of Kiwi. So you've got plenty of support back home, Bewls. Have you noticed even more so for the tour as opposed to other races that you've done?
Say that again. I wasn't paying attention.
Have you had more support for the tour back home in New Zealand than other races? It's a pretty obvious question. I mean, not my finest.
Good journalism, Jonesy.
Yeah.
No, definitely, man. I mean, doing bloody radio interviews and TV interviews the last few days, and this morning I had a shitload of messages from friends and family wishing me luck. So no, definitely had a lot more support for this race. So it's nice to know that they only care about one race as well. But no, it's been great to have that support from back home, and obviously my folks probably would have been over here if things were different. So I know they'll be watching. They'll be up late every night watching every 21 stages for the next few weeks.
Well, the time zone's even worse than New Zealand. Like the stages wouldn't finish till 5 in the morning. Yeah,
4 or 5, I reckon, because the tour's finishing a bit later this year. I guess maybe because it's summer holidays, people are at work, so they want to, or the summer holidays are over, I should say. Sorry. They want to be finishing the stages when people are home from work here in Europe. So we're finishing about 6 o'clock most days. So that's 4 a.m. in New Zealand. So the old man's got the biscuit cabinet stocked up, and he'll be watching.
Good stuff, mate. Well, all the best for the stage today. Rip it a new one, and we hope to see you in yellow jersey when you nail that descent into Nice, mate.
Righto. Cheers, guys.
Good luck,
mate. How good was that, Sam Bewley? First Tour de France.
Fantastic.
Absolute legend.
Yeah.
And as we said, if we I know Bill's pretty good. There would have to be some pre-race nerves there, given the magnitude of what he's about to undertake. But, as the stages get under your belt, they'll fall by the wayside, and he should have a good tour for sure.
He looked pretty relaxed to me, mate.
I reckon maybe, when you get on the bus and just before you start, I suppose, like if your brain wanders and start thinking. But he's ridden Olympics and he's pretty experienced, so just another bike race, as they always say in the classics. Now, before we spoke to Bewls, we were chatting with Bridie O'Donnell. Now, the second part was I thought really interesting because it was all about, what do they know about COVID? How contagious is it? And is there sort of a threat, particularly with crowds passing on to riders during the race? So here's part 2 of our chat with Bridie.
We're in Melbourne. We're suffering the consequences of a few people violating the rules, and now we've been in lockdown for 4 weeks and we've got 2 more weeks to go. That's really challenging for people here, and it didn't take very much. It just took a few people sharing cigarettes, driving taxis, doing some Ubering, and then having family events, and then that led to a massive outbreak. So you're absolutely right. It doesn't actually require a lot of multiple points of contact or non-mask wearing or sharing a coffee or standing outside. And something we've seen a lot in Victoria as well is this sort of incidental socialising. What we know is that when people trust each other, they think that the other person isn't unwell, and neither are they. They think of other people as being unwell or other teams, and yet it could be you and me, and even though we share a team bus or we work together on the same team. So it's absolutely, that rigid protocol that all of the staff need to stick to, because they probably tend to be a bit more relaxed because they're not thinking as much about their health and well-being the way the riders are.
I know that I was just going to say one thing, because you introduced, Dan, you introduced Bridie as an expert and a doctor, but you also, we've got to remember that she was a superstar cyclist herself, and one of our best ever female time trialists. But you've raced in with teams overseas, and normally you share a room. But this time on the tour, all the riders are in rooms of their own, just because if one goes positive and they share a room, that means both would have to go out. So this is the first off that all the riders in all of the teams will be having a room on their own.
Which is actually really interesting, isn't it? Because we've heard guys like Jens Voigt talk in the past about how he'll always want a room with the same person, someone he gets along with, someone who's got similar waking hours or similar habits in the evening so that they're not aggravating each other. We know GC riders tend to want a room with the guy that stresses them out the least or makes them feel good. That actually makes a lot of sense on the road to share a room with someone and have your twin beds or whatever it is. But I'm surprised there's enough hotels across France to give every single rider their room of their own. Those hotels are pretty small, and it's a good thing. It's a really smart move, but it does come down to this just massive logistical issue, doesn't it? It's like running a whole new event.
On the flip side, Peter Weenie used to snore like a chainsaw, so no one wanted to room with him. That's for sure. Before we let you go, Bridie, in your medical opinion and knowing what we know about COVID and how contagious it is, what is the chances, a percentage, that a rider you think will test positive as a result of crowd behaviour over the next 3 weeks?
Look, I don't know about the likelihood of the crowd behaviour, but I think that what we're seeing is it's closer socialising than that. I mean, you think about how close the riders are to each other in a peloton. So they're already breaking each other's bubble by having them ride next to guys in a peloton, sweating near each other, touching each other's backs, spraying a bottle in your mouth and having that go into someone else. So I actually think it'll be more likely to be between teams, between those bubbles, than it would be from crowd. But I'm not going to give you a percentage. I'm no epidemiologist, so I'm going to say it's highly likely. But we'll have to wait and see. And I'm really crossing my fingers and toes that we get to Paris.
Bridie, you must be excited for the next 3 weeks, given your role with the SBS coverage this year. You team up with Maddie Keenan and Robbie McEwen. How do you get along with those guys?
Oh, I'm thrilled to be doing it. We worked together on other races, commentated World Championships before, and also I work with Matt a lot and with Macca and Christoph at National Championships in Ballarat every year. So it's fantastic to work with them. They're both absolutely professional at what they do and great to work with. It's very strange, of course, for us to be in multiple locations, but that's the wonders of production, and SBS have done an amazing job to bring us all together. We had a rehearsal yesterday to make sure all the plugs were plugged into the right forces in the TVs, and everything seemed to work really well. So I'm just super excited.
I've got to say, Bridie, I'm pretty excited about the fact that I'll be able to have a glass of Mitchelton and enjoy the evening.
Yeah, it's an unusual situation for everyone, isn't it? But we're actually now all on the same time zone as the fans in Australia, and that's something quite special. The Couch Peloton are loyal, dedicated, passionate, and really motivated by the race. And even though there's only 2 Aussies to follow, we're still very excited to be part of it. So you're right, it's a special year, and we're privileged that it's going ahead.
Last question, Bridie. Any medical advice for people to stay productive when we're running on about 3-4 hours sleep? Is there anything we can do?
That's tricky. Don't forget to drink water, alternating your water with your other beverages, I think is a really important one.
Okay. Well, there you go, Iffy. Water chasers tonight.
Sounds like a plan.
She was great, Bridie O'Donnell. Some good insights there. But the thing that sort of stood out was she's actually quite concerned. You can tell that if it does spread in the peloton, then it could obviously float through pretty quickly. But there's other part of your brain just watching that. You're like, we can't be talking about COVID every week or every episode, because it's one of those things. Once the racing starts, hopefully the focus is on that and we don't have any of these sort of big dramas popping up. But who knows? Do you feel the same?
I look, very much so, mate. And it's important that, okay, we're talking about COVID a lot tonight, because that's one of the reasons why the tour is starting today and not 3 weeks ago or a month ago. But I won't be talking about COVID anymore for the rest of this tour unless it's an issue that needs to be spoken about, because I'm going to be talking about what's going to be an amazing bike race.
Now, one thing I do want you to talk about, Iffy, and I know it's a big passion of yours, given that you run the Bay Crits, is the sponsors. Now, we've had some great sponsors for your Detour podcast. Who do you want to give a shout out for this podcast as well?
Well, look, we've got 4 wonderful partners that enable us to do a Detour podcast and also to do our Detour Live. Of course, Bike Exchange, our the biggest online bike group in the world, right around the world now. Fantastic. So if you need a bike exchange, Let's Go Motorhomes, which are absolutely fantastic. All Jaycos, of course, and at the moment, there's not many people, with no one coming in to rent them, but they're still going gangbusters with not so much in Victoria, but the rest of Australia with the local trade. And of course, Lexus Blackburn, if once it gets going, in a few weeks' time, it opens up, people are going to be running out to buy a car, going out to Blackburn. There are more family out there and they'll look after you. So thank you very much to our loyal partners.
Good stuff, mate. Now, we've done a bit of prep work for this episode, and here's the Stage 1 profile. It's 170 Ks. Now, those climbs, Iffy, they're not easy. They're not Hawes category, but they're definitely, they're 500 meters of climbing over sort of 17 Ks. But as you can see, that descent there is going to be pretty gnarly when they hit the top of that last climb at the 120 K mark.
I've actually raced over that climb and that descent, unless the roads have changed in 45 years or whatever it was. And I do remember them vaguely. But look, the last lap when they really race it, you'd think the sprinters might lose a little bit of time. I think one of the interesting things is going to be someone like Wout van Aert, who can sprint with Cadel, but he also climbs he can climb bigger mountains. He could be in a front little group, and that's if he gets clear, because he imagine Jumbo Visma just burying it, trying to keep him away. It'd be a rider like that, or Sagan even, who are up near the front. But look, no, I think it's going to be a bunch finish.
And have a look at this for research, Iffy. I've even got the weather map. This is what they're expecting at around 5 p.m. Have a look at that big dirty cloud coming into Nice. So it's going to be on for young and old. Now, who better to talk to than DS Matthew White? We caught up with him earlier in the day, so we've split that up into 3 parts as well. Here's Sports Director Matthew White. It's that time where we chat with Director Sport Eve Matthew White from Mitchelton Scott team. Whitey, a bit of a backflip overnight with the 2-strike COVID policy. What was your initial reaction to that?
Well, when I saw the initial one that the staff didn't count, I actually thought it was probably a little bit too good to be true. So look, the French government's come in overnight and they've just reversed what they were going to do before. So it's any 2 people in a 1-week window gone positive for COVID, then the team will be sent home.
And you mentioned off air before, this is the only opportunity you get to not wear a mask. You must really suck in the big ones once you get to your hotel room.
It is the only time we're not. But as far as talking to media, this is the only place I can talk to the media without wearing a mask, and that's in my bedroom. And the only other time we're allowed to take off the mask is when we're at the dinner table. So, and they've made it very, very clear that there'll be consequences if people are caught not wearing masks. So look, they have to take it very, very seriously. At the end of the day, we're in the middle of a pandemic in an area that's classified a red zone, which is, I don't remember the exact number per 100,000 people have infections in Nice. We're here till Monday, and they are just part of the precautions that all the teams are abiding by.
So the one thing is, though, Matty, it is still slightly better than the original rules that were set down by the government. So in that, it's 2 positives over the 9 days. It's slightly relaxed from the original.
Yeah, it's a 1 week rolling. So before it was 2 positives in the month and we're home, and now it's a rolling system over a week. So it has been slightly relaxed since the initial protocols came out. And look, it just means that we're going to have to be very, very aware of everything we're doing. We had that mentality anyway, but it just means that before, as the riders have their own rooms here. It's highly unlikely that those guys would be getting infected just because they have besides the massage therapists and the sports directors for meetings, they have very little contact with the rest of the staff anyway. But now it's obviously just as important that any of our staff don't get sick, because they're two staff members in a week, and the teams will have to go home.
I just want to jump in one quick thing, Dan, because yesterday Whitey was telling us that he was a bit disappointed with the draw of where you go in the convoy. You're a fair way back in the classification of the convoy, and being at quite a dangerous stage, you're a bit worried about that, and you're worried about whether it's going to rain. What's the weather looking like?
We've already had some sprinkles this morning. So I went out for a run this morning and it started to rain a little bit. It's 20-30% chance of rain, so that's 70-80% chance of no rain. But if it does rain today, it will certainly make first day of Tour de France, yellow jersey on the line. It's going to be very nervous already, and it's there's some technical descents today, and wet weather would certainly complicate things, especially when there's a yellow jersey on the line for the winner of the stage today.
Some great insights there from Whitey, particularly around procedures and so forth. And just on that, Whitey was always good back in the day at people making sure they had good hand hygiene. He was always saying to me, mate, did you just wash your hands? Like you're about to make a salad for the boys, and you've got to be. You think of what's at stake, but that was 4 or 5 years ago. And I remember one time during the Classics, I got in the kitchen with Nicky Strobel and I said, hey, mate, I'll make a lasagna for the boys tonight. And he said, yeah, maybe just do it for the staff. And 7 of the staff come down with food poisoning. So you just can't take any risks when it comes to hygiene at these races.
Even last year, I remember at the Tour de France, Mitchell Scott already implemented a pretty strong rule on coming onto the team bus. Matter of fact, where I used to be now able to bring a couple of mates in here and there, they all got the flick. I was still allowed in as official team mascot, but I had to. They had the sanitizer and all of that. So that was already on the go well before COVID. So I can imagine that the team's pretty switched on for this.
So here's part 2 of the chat with Whitey, where he talks more about the technical aspects of the Stage 1 parkour. Now you said it's a technical descent. Is this going to be a matter of who's going to be the best descender and the biggest bollockers in the final there?
The last descent finishes around about 25 kilometers to go, and then that's a very, very technical descent, the last one. But then after that, it's the last 30 minutes. Jones is pretty straightforward, straight run down towards the beach, and then along the coast. And the final 4 kilometers is on the Promenade Anglais, and the same finish line we used in the 2013 Tour de France team's time trial. So it's not so complicated. The final. But all the descents today, which there is a few, are extremely technical.
Now, we were talking to Bridie earlier. We said that given that the government have done a bit of a backflip and tightened up the restrictions, will there be more pressure from teams that the gendarmes are enforcing tight protocol among the crowds? Instead of, pepper spray, it could be sort of Glen 20. The caravan could throw out hand sanitizer and masks. Are you going to be leaning on the government to do these sort of things?
Look, I think from what I saw at the Dauphiné, it was strange because some parts of the Dauphiné at the start areas and the finish areas, there was a lot. Everyone was wearing masks, but on the climbs, it was pretty sporadic. So, look, they're definitely encouraging people to wear masks at all times. It is French law that unless you are exercising, that you have to wear a mask. Walking around town the last couple of days, it's not 100% compliant, but I know the ASO are making a big advertising campaign using some of the big riders in the tour to stress the 2 meter rule, to stay at least 2 meters away from the riders. They're going around in the caravan. They're not throwing out as many hats and sausages this year, Jonesy. They are running past hand sanitizer, and they are encouraging masks. So look, it's a big effort from the French government, from ASO, to make people aware. But it'll be interesting to see once we get into the Alps and when we get into the traditional party areas of the Tour de France, how appliant people actually are.
I was going to say that throws out the plans for Julian Dean, the Tour de France scab and seagull. The days of going up and pinching us, as you said, a sausage off the barbecue and just see what we could get on the road. I mean, those days are well and truly done.
We're not even allowed to socialise with people from other teams, even at our own hotel. So just as in talk to people, it's very strict. We have a 30-person bubble, and outside that bubble, you're not supposed to have contact with throughout the whole race. So look, there'll be a lot of staying in the dinner room, having chats with our own staff and our own people in that bubble, but there'll be no catching up with friends and family, even family. The riders aren't allowed to see their family for the entire month.
You know what? It's a wonder they haven't brought back in like the old tours, because in 1928, when Oppie did his great ride, it was all but one stage or 2 stages were team time trials. So it's wonder they didn't bring that back in to keep the bubble going right through the race.
Well, it certainly would be a bubble if they kept that. We're staying with Ineos, and their staff are eating in tents outside the hotel. So they're coming into the hotel to sleep, and that's it.
Fascinating insights. Like it is such a different tour. Like, as you know, Johnny, the best thing about the tour in previous editions is it is a travelling circus. It's a carnival. There is things going on the side of the road. And as I mentioned, that was some of the highlights, going with Julian Dean and scabbing food and rolling up the barbecues. They're not going to be able to do that for a long time.
Look, when Whitey was talking then, it made me think of what about the situation for the feed zones? Like, one of my little jobs used to be with a few of my mates that I'd have on tour. We would actually always hand out the drink bottles on one of the big climbs, and that would just be a lovely part of the day. That would not be allowed now. Only the people in the bubble, but at the actual official feed zone every day, that will have to. We'll have to find out tomorrow exactly how that works, because you've got 22 teams, 2 or 3 from each team handing out, the feed bags. There must be really strict new rules as keeping them apart.
And those little kosher sausages, they were a massive highlight. They used to throw those out on the side. Remember Haribo? Remember those little Haribo packs? And that year that you met, was it the boss of Haribo?
The owner, yeah.
And you asked for a little, you asked for a little sample, and they ended up giving you 2 boxes of these Haribo, and you ended up throwing them out the side of the car like you're part of the caravan.
Exactly right.
Now I cut you off. This is classic live broadcasting. You wanted to say that these grabs from Whitey was brought to you by, was it Mitchelton?
Mitchelton wines, yes, exactly. But and so we can say that now. So Whitey was brought to you by the wonderful Mitchelton Winery up in the Gambie, one of the great places to go for a holiday, and it's just the most stunning prop.
You're just cutting in
every minute.
Yeah.
Sorry,
well,
mate,
we've got. Yeah, you're cutting in and out. Just as you said, Mitchelton. I think. Jerry's turned off your Wi-Fi, mate. Whitey's got one more part, and obviously he's an excitable character, so we wanted to get into his headspace and how he's feeling with some predictions for the stage. So here's part 3, presented by Mitchelton Wines, Iffy. Now, before we let you go, Whitey, I know how excited you get leading into a grand tour. It's when everyone's their freshest. How'd you sleep last night, and how pumped are you, given that at one point early in the year, there's a good chance that the tour might not happen at all?
Good, thanks, Jonesy. I got a big sleep for myself. I think 6 hours last night. 6 hours,
wow.
So, which is probably the longest sleep I get for the next 3 weeks. Look, I'd be lying if I said it doesn't feel like a normal Tour de France yet. Like I said, when we went in yesterday, all the process of going through the inscription, the meetings we've had, even the presentation, it didn't feel that manic like the Tour de France normally does on a run-in. But yeah, if you'd asked anyone in the world in April, when probably Europe's the first wave was hitting, when people couldn't leave their houses for 10 weeks, if the Tour de France was going to be run this year, not too many people would have backed that in. And look, the ASO and UCI, to a lesser extent, have done a great job getting our biggest event up and running. And we're excited to get it underway and actually start talking more about the actual bike races and less about COVID.
Well, while we are talking about the actual bike race, Whitey, remembering that Dan and I have been sprouting about our knowledge, but you're there on the ground. What do you think is going to happen today?
I think, look, it's a tough stage, but the hardest climb of the day finishes around about 60 kilometres to go. So there's some falls flat and some technical climbing and descending after that. But I really do see, because like I said before, about 26, 27 kilometres to go, the descent finishes, and there is a long time to regroup. There is not too many stages for the pure sprinter here. So I really think that the likes of Cofidis, Quickstep, and Lotto Soudal will guarantee that it is a bunch sprint today with their 3 sprinters, Caleb, Viviani, and Bennett. And I would expect to see a total bunch sprint today. And the only thing that I could see would affect that would be crashes and splits, because there's not much wind today, chance of rain. And there's a lot on the line, and I think Caleb has a great chance of taking the yellow jersey this afternoon.
Well, there you go. Appreciate the time, Whitey. Obviously, there's a lot going on for the next 3 weeks, so fans will really lap up those insights, mate. So all the best today. Stay safe, and we'll check in again tomorrow, and hopefully, who knows, Mezgets could get off the front. You never know.
Yeah, look, I think Luca will have a good run today. I think Luca he'll need things to go perfect on the run into the finish. But I think Luca will either run top 3 today or nowhere at all, because he'll take those risks there where if he gets a clear run, he'll have a good sprint. But Caleb and I think Sam Bennett, the team of Quick Step here, the train they've got, they're definitely the strongest train. But I think in a messy sprint, Caleb's got a great chance.
Good stuff, mate. All the best today.
Cheers, gents.
Thanks, Whitey.
He's a good man, Whitey. As you said, some great insights there, and he thinks it's going to be a bunchy. And if you are a betting man, the punters agree. Caleb Ewan, $3, and Sam Bennett, $3.25. But you like a bit of a roughie, Wood Van Aert at $9.
Yeah, I think. Well, if you're just going on the odds, look, I think Caleb will win it. But Wood Van Aert, he has beaten Caleb in the sprint. If it does split up, he's going to be in the front group. So I think he's really short price. I would be putting him at around $3.50, $4, and they've got him at $9. But there's a couple of other really good long odds. One of them, it might have a bit of a blast in the past, Andre Greipel, $41.
Yeah.
I'd put $10 on him. $41, mate. He's still pretty powerful, pretty fast.
Yeah, well, I still can't go past Caleb Ewan. I mean, he's short, but you've got to back the Aussies, stage one. And if it's not Caleb, obviously Luca at $21, I think, I'll be rooting for him as well. Now, before we go, if he...
we know he's short. Why are you having a go at his height? I mean, what's that got to do with him?
If I had the sound button that played the brum ching, I would have pressed it. Now, before we go, we want to get into the Detour DeLorean each week and flash back, because we've got so much archival vision from the detours, the backstage passes, and one of the most famous stage one events, or maybe infamous, was 2013 Tour de France, 100th anniversary of the tour, and it was the most famous bus in the world for at least a week. What are your memories of that day, Iffy?
Yes, we're over the island of Corsica. I was struggling a little bit. I wasn't really that well at the time, but I remember watching all that unfold. I remember going, "Oh my God!" I just did not think they were ever going to get it out in time. It was just, we're listening. The race is 10K away. It's 9K away. The bus is still stuck under the finish line. They're starting to panic about where they're going to finish it. All of that was unfolding. I thought, this is a disaster, and it's all going to be green edge.
Well, we've got a snippet from the film All for One of that fateful day in Corsica.
I said, no, she's right. They waved you through. That'll fit.
My wife got very excited. Here comes the bus.
And next thing, it was like the Titanic hitting the iceberg. And I was sitting up behind Gary, and I've nearly gone over the handlebars and landed on top of him, and seen this arch just lean forward and the people underneath it.
The whole stanchion started to tip towards where we were sitting. If we go off air suddenly, it's because the banners just hit my commentary box.
Now, there's a couple of interesting elements of that story. Now, Robbie McEwen, he was in the bus, and he was saying to Gary, "No, you'll be right, mate." He was egging him on. And then when it hit, he jumped to the back of the bus because he saw all the photographers with their lenses and so forth. Matt Keenan was obviously in the commentary box, and he reckons he saw the archway almost tip over. And then Christian Prudhomme was in the background just losing his nut because obviously, as you said, it was 10, 15K to go. So there's a lot of stress. I was standing right on the finish line there with Jerry and Shane Bannon at the time. And I remember saying to Jerry, "Hey, mate, that's good publicity. Like the bus is coming right near the finish, like when the riders are coming in." So it was packed. And we turned around. I remember it smacked into the gantry there. And I remember the gas, poured out from the aircon. And that is the most I've ever shit myself at a race. Like I thought, like the worst case scenario, one, they're not going to finish. They're going to have to call the stage off. We're going to get kicked off the tour. But it actually turned out to be great publicity, Iffy. Like, I don't think once it all sort of settled down, they got to finish, Jerry sort of worked out pretty quick. Hang on, this is actually pretty good for the sponsors.
Well, actually, it was Jerry's fault, actually, not the bus driver. Because what happened, that because the hotel was so close to the finish line, they decided to just take the bus straight to the hotel, and because the riders had to ride about 500 metres around the corner to get to the hotel. But Jerry got there, and rightfully so. He said, what if we win the stage? Because Gossie was a big chance to win that stage. He only crashed in the last 500 metres. What if we win the stage? Where are the media going to come to? We haven't got our bus there. No puppers. Oh, yeah, okay. Well, we better get it in. So they called it in. So what happened is there's a Tour de France official there. They were calling them through. Gary said, I don't know about that, but what happens is after all the buses get in, they lower it down. This Tour de France official forgot that they'd lowered it down, so that's where the problem came.
Yeah, it was on the back page of the New York Times, wasn't it? Didn't they I think they calculated how much the exposure was worth, and it was $60 million in advertising for Orica. And I remember the Vittel Water Company, because they were on the gantry as well. They were stoked because their branding went all around the world as well. And I think it was a €1,200 fine. So it's another great Jerry Ryan investment back then.
Well,
I remember that at dinner that night.
That's right. Yeah.
Gary was the driver was in tears, and Jerry said to him, mate, I asked you to park it as close as you could to the finish line. I didn't think you'd be that close. but Gary did a great job to reverse that car, because remember they let the air out of the tyres to lower it. But to reverse that car with a peloton 3K up your clacker, I mean, I struggle to reverse my car at the Belmont Coles, let alone under that sort of pressure. So yeah.
Yeah, just amazing. But Jerry did say after, they were all joking about it, he just said to the boys, don't.
Sorry, you're breaking.
Otherwise,
you're breaking up
remembered
again.
For.
You there? Every time you mention the word Jerry, that's creepy.
How's that? Are we good?
Yeah, that's good. Yeah,
are we good?
Yeah.
No, but just saying, Jerry realised they had to win a stage. Otherwise, they would just be remembered for the bus crash. And what did they do? 2 days later, they won the stage, and then the next day they got the yellow jersey. So it was like a fairy tale.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely one stage they'll never forget. And as we mentioned, we're going to be doing that every stage throughout the detour. We'll be flashing back to memories gone by. So thanks again, Iffy. It's been a jam-packed episode. What have you got loaded up for your tour snacks tonight? Are you going to stay up for the entirety of the stage, or watch the replay on SBS?
I've got some Mitchelton Chardonnay on ice for the start. Got some Shiraz for later. I've gone and got these little sausages. I couldn't get the proper ones, but I've got some sort of imitation ones, and I've got stacks of little lollies. So that when I see the caravan, I can just start eating a couple of those.
Mate, tell me you bought a pack of Quickies. You're going to need a Quickies chaser with all of that.
Not anymore,
never
learn. Not anymore. No. Since they chopped out my stomach, most of it, I'm as good as gold these days.
All right. Well, we might have a backup plan. You might see myself and Matty Keenan tomorrow, depending on how you pull up. All right. Fingers crossed. It's a great stage, no doubt. And, we may see an Aussie in yellow. So thanks for tuning in tomorrow night and every night further on, 7:30 p.m. Iffy. Same time.
Yes. Yep. Looking forward to it. And we want people to text us in and get their questions, because there was a couple through tonight, but we want stacks. Want to get interaction with our fans.
Oh, hang on. We've got one. Shout out, Wendy Superfan. How are you? Hi, Dan, John, and all. You're a legend, Wendy. And Jason Cruz, Buells, best of luck. So plenty of support already, but yeah, send in your questions over the next few stages, and we're going to have a lot of fun, that's for sure. So stay safe, everyone. Enjoy the tour tonight, and we'll see you again for stage 2 preview tomorrow.
Not all.